Look at this! New couches! And to celebrate the dark green, I have on a dark green sweater. To celebrate the new couches, we're going to be talking about that stupid Marmaduke movie that came out last year. Because a live-action Marmaduke movie with Owen Wilson just wasn't enough, apparently.
We have to do something about Marmaduke.
Okay, I admit it. He's a handful.
Oh, sorry, huh? Marmaduke! Cannonball!
Maybe obedience school isn't such a bad idea.
I will march in protest! I won't rest for 1 second! Oh, look. A bed.
What happened to you? Did you swallow a gonium blimp?
One rail slide coming up! Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to prepare my victory speech.
I really wish that there was a reboot of Quigley so that we could do this as a double feature too, but sadly no one has rebooted Quigley. All of you out there remember Quigley, right? That Gary Busey classic where he's an overworked businessman who ends up realizing he needs to spend more time with his family after he has a near-death experience and he turns into a dog.
They want you to go back as a dog. They said I'll be the only one to be able to see you as you once were. Everyone else will see you as Quigley.
It's a so bad it's good classic, I assure you. Marmaduke is a lovable pet that loves his human family, but cannot stay out of trouble. When a legendary dog trainer undertakes the mission of turning the undisciplined Great Dane to a world champion, the results are hilarious. 3.6 out of 10 on IMDb, 1.3 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and probably the most glowing praise it could get, 3 out of 5 on Common Sense Media. Yeah, this movie fucking sucks. Just like my review of the 2010 movie, I have to preface this by saying I have never read that many Marmaduke comic strips. All I know about Marmaduke is that it's apparently still going to this day. Like, I think the son of the original creator has taken over at this point. But it usually involves just one panel of the Family Circus family and their big-ass pet Great Dane, and all the wacky things that go on with that dog, because it's so big and so chaotic. Like, it tears up the backyard by digging, or it chases after mailmen, or it's terrified of bees and often runs away and causes chaos in its path. Stuff like that. Apparently one Marmaduke movie wasn't enough because some studio executive at Netflix was like, hey, there's enough material to mine there, and we have an animation studio that paid enough money for their movie to be on Netflix, so screw it, yeah, animated Marmaduke movie with the voice acting talents of SNL's Pete Davidson and David Koechner and J.K. Simmons somehow. And aside from them, it's a bunch of like Canadian voice actors that usually show up in stuff like this because voice actors need work, and unfortunately they end up in stuff like this. So a few things are different from the 2010 movie. There are a few things. This isn't a straightforward remake of that one. It's a reboot. We're going in that direction. So very similarly to that movie and the comic strip, it's about a family. You have a mom, a dad, a little boy, and their daughter, who's like a teenager. And just like in the 2010 movie, the daughter, as underdeveloped as she is, she's just a stereotypical teenager who's always on her phone and gabbing about high school drama. And the son is just this over-the-top, precocious little boy who's like, oh boy, Marmaduke, let's go on adventures, boy! That kind of thing. And the parents are always talking about, oh, Marmaduke, oh, that dog gets into wacky shenanigans and causes dollars upon dollars of property damage. The best way I can describe the animation in this entire movie is it looks like something like Norm of the North or any of those other low-budget animated movies that somehow worked their way into theaters, except this one didn't. But it looks like one of those. Something like Norm of the North or movies like that, if it had designs that looked like they were trying to copy something like Despicable Me. Like, all the characters look like something from one of those Illumination movies, where you have character designs that are super stylized. You have characters with, like, really long, skinny arms and legs, and, like, really rotund bellies, but very slim upper torsos. It's very bizarre looking.
Aw, gee, thanks.
Where's Marmaduke?
He's up in my room being punished.
And it especially doesn't help the way they animate Marmaduke himself. I get it. The dog is a Great Dane. They're often very huge. They're very lanky. I get that. But the way they animate him, they're trying to go for, like, Tex Avery, Looney Tunes style squash and stretch a lot of the time, and it just comes off really disconcerting with this animation.
It's Phil's favorite chair, but he knows we like to wrestle over it.
Marmaduke!
But as for the plot, the movie begins with the little boy having a birthday in their backyard. All Marmaduke is allowed to do is stay inside because he did something bad. And he watches from inside, looks out the window, gets hungry because they're having a barbecue, and after he has some kind of interaction with a bee. Yeah, just like with the 2010 movie, I was surprised they even brought that back. It's like, oh yeah, I guess Marmaduke was scared of bees. It was such an important character detail, they just had to put it in the movie. After that, he ends up smashing through the window and he lands in the pool. And even though this pool, it's an above ground pool, and it doesn't look like it's that big, it floods the backyard.
What's the hot diggity dang that dog?
It's only a few minutes into the movie, and I was already like, wow, this is making the climax from the first Marmaduke movie from 2010 look normal in comparison, where you have these CGI dogs trying to survive getting swept away from, you know, water that's coming up from fault lines breaking in LA. They also established the family has a pet cat, which is not called Carlos like it was in the 2010 movie. Here, the cat is called King Tut, which, according to IMDb, that's a character from the comic strip that was different from the cat that George Lopez was playing in the 2010 one. So why they didn't just call this cat Carlos like its character essentially is. They're basically the same. It's a cat that is best friends with Marmaduke, and they have some banter back and forth. Why they decided to call it the cat who's supposed to be Marmaduke's arch rival, again, going off of what it said on IMDb, why they didn't just call it Carlos, like the cat who's supposed to be his best friend, who's also a pet to the same family. After Marmaduke floods the backyard, and then it goes viral, like apparently they were filming it, and then it went viral online. The kids try to bank on it. Like, they have this thing where they have a stand out in the front yard, and they're like, hey, take a picture with that dog that caused a huge splash in the backyard on the internet.
Marmaduke! Oh my God, it's really him. Next! Now remember, this is a celebrity dog, so take your pictures.
The mother and father of the family talk about it, and the father and husband is played by David Koechner.
I can't let my son charge kids from the neighborhood to meet our dog. What kind of father would that make me?
Really funny guy. Unfortunately, ends up in really crap movies most of the time. He was funny in Anchorman, I give him that. And he is funny on The Office. But and he's also really good in Krampus. Like, the mother and father of the family are talking about how Marmaduke needs obedience training because he keeps causing such chaos. So they go to a guy who's apparently retired, but he says he likes a challenge. So once he hears about Marmaduke and sees the viral video, he decides he's going to go back to work and try to see if he can get Marmaduke to become a fully trained, obedient pet. This becomes the main drive of the movie for the first act. And we then get a training montage where Marmaduke starts off bad, but then he slowly works his way into being a fully trained dog. And apparently the guy does such good work that the parents decide they're going to try and put him in a dog show. Mostly the dad. The kid is complaining that they shouldn't be putting Marmaduke into this show because the dad only wants to do it so that they can get money from it.
Why is Dad out shopping for a new car?
Because he thinks Marmaduke is gonna make us rich.
Billy, stop saying true things about your father.
Why? All he cares about is the prize money.
First of all, that's rich coming from the kid that was trying to bank off of, letting kids in the neighborhood get selfies and pictures with the dog that went viral online. And secondly, yeah, they might need a little bit of money considering that that dog trainer guy basically scammed a shitload of money out of them. And yet, for some reason, he's not a villain. I was really surprised they didn't take that route. I really thought they were going to do the typical, oh, best dog and pet trainer there is in the business. And then it turns out that, oh, he actually sucks. And he only says that he's the best so that way he can sponge a bunch of money off of his clients and then bail. But no, they actually didn't do that. My point is, yeah, maybe the dad wants to earn a little bit of money from this dog show because they have to pay a shitload of money in property damage every week for the shit that Marmaduke gets up to. They sign up Marmaduke to be in a dog show, and, well, he ends up screwing it up because he ends up eating a bunch of food that was on a catering table backstage, and he causes a giant, massive fart.
What's happening?
Watch out!
Some pervert wrote this in there because it's their fetish. Like, there's no other reason. Like, I can't imagine that there was a reason that they did it. When they did it in the 2010 Marmaduke movie, I just kind of wrote it off as like, okay, that's just a dumb fart joke because that's what hack writers put in crappy kids movies. But something like this, it feels like they did it because some pervert wanted to insert fetish fuel into their film. Also gotta point out, while they're at this dog pageant, they establish that there's some dog that's really popular with the judges and always wins. And this dog is played by J.K. Simmons.
I'm going to be the next world champion. Second of all, the only thing you're going to win is total humiliation for you and your family.
J.K. Simmons, what the fuck, man? Already, this is like halfway through the movie. The movie is half done at this point, and it already sucks. You have really bad dialogue, really bad voice acting, and it's not just because, the people they got. Like, most of the people who are, like, trained voice actors, like, who are usually doing, like, more of the side characters, like, I know the wife is played by a woman whose body of work mostly consists of actual voice acting. Those people did fine, but I noticed this weird thing where the mic quality is inconsistent. Like, some characters sound okay, and then other characters sound like they're recording off of an iPhone. There are cartoons and animated shows that go on YouTube that have better mic quality than the shit that's in this movie. And since we're halfway through, I guess I gotta point out Pete Davidson, who, I'm gonna be honest, Pete Davidson did no better than Owen Wilson did in the 2010 movie. Like, it feels like they just put him in there because, oh, well, people know who this is, well-known comedian, oh, he's a good leading man, he could probably do good. I'm gonna be honest, I never really liked Pete Davidson to begin with. I know everyone seems to not like him because he seems like a weirdo. Like, all the stuff that's going on with him and Kim Kardashian, they were still dating at the time this movie was being made. But, like, even on SNL, every time he showed up, I'm just like, this guy's like a low-rent version of Nick Kroll. To the man's credit, Pete Davidson every once in a while was funny with some of his stand-ups, but, like, when it came to this reoccurring skit that he would do on SNL, I never thought those were funny.
I'll know if you're cheating, Chad, because I'm watching you right now.
Okay.
A pretty little throat will get slit.
Slit.
How about we turn the patio light on?
Okay.
I mean, he just feels like, it feels like they could have gotten anybody to do this. Like, it didn't have to necessarily be Pete Davidson. Part of me would love to imagine that the only reason Pete Davidson did this movie is because he was dating Kim Kardashian, and he was like, okay, yeah, I'll take this movie just so, her kids have something to watch that has me in it. But anyway, halfway through the movie, Marmaduke fucks up at the dog show. The family is disappointed in him, and the dog trainer, Guy, that's his name. This is the part of the movie where it's brought up that Guy was basically scamming them because they finally get the bill for all the dog obedience training, and it's insanely long. And they also throw in a very epic, funny Star Wars reference.
Huh?
seriously, that's like some Family Guy style cutaway gag shit. What is that? It was at this point I was like, okay, they're gonna have it that the dog trainer guy is a bad guy. But no, he's not, because then Marmaduke feels bad, he runs away from home, kind of like the 2010 movie. There's that part where the family's disappointed in him and then he runs away. But this time he runs away and the cat has to convince him to come back because the cat throws himself into the middle of traffic, and Marmaduke, being the good friend that he is, the loving family member that he is, runs out and saves the cat. And the cat's like, see, you are a good dog, Marmaduke. You care about the ones you love. That's what really makes you a good pet and makes you a good member of the family.
I knew I wasn't in any danger because you'll do whatever it takes to make sure that the whole family is safe and sound.
So with this newly found confidence, he goes back to Guy, the dog trainer, and he wants to prove that he can be a good dog. So then Guy sarcastically says, oh, you have to prove yourself to me. I want you to run all around the world and back. And then there's this montage of Marmaduke running across the Great Wall of China, him swimming across the Atlantic while being chased by a shark.
This amazing dog has just done the impossible and made a solo trip around the world.
What?
Family also comes by and they see that Marmaduke is trying to prove himself, so they're like, you know what, we're no longer disappointed in Marmaduke, we're gonna sign him up for another dog show and he can unfuck himself, basically. And they also don't at all bring up the fact that the bill that Guy charged them was needlessly long. This movie has a tendency to bring up conflicts and then drop them 2 seconds later. But so the end of the movie, it's another dog show, and they show off a couple of other dogs, and all of them are incredibly offensive stereotypes. I mean, of course, you have to have the dog that's Spanish, so it, of course, sounds like this. And then you got a French dog that is supposed to be Marmaduke's love interest.
You are not like any dog I've ever met.
Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot lately.
Do they even know each other? What? But the worst one is easily the Chinese dog. That sounds like this.
Gee, all the way from Shanghai just to lose to me? Why waste your...
Choose your words wisely, Mr. Zeus. They may be your downfall.
I see you mastered the art of racist Asian stereotype. But anyway, Zeus, that's the J.K. Simmons dog, and Marmaduke, they go toe-to-toe, and they establish that while the dogs are mostly doing good all throughout, there's one judge who's giving every single dog but Zeus 1 on the rating scale. So, that's going to come into play later. Because they established that, I forgot to mention this earlier, but Zeus has these handlers who are these like two foppish European guys who don't even sound like they're any kind of specific European. They just have these like, oh yeah, we sound like this. It's like, okay, what accent is that? Is it supposed to be German? Is it supposed to be French? Swedish, like from Switzerland? I don't fucking know. And I don't think the people who made this movie did either. It turns out that one of the judges was actually one of the two handlers in disguise. So that's how they were boosting their own ratings, so that way Zeus could win the dog show like he always has.
Who the heck is that guy?
They also established that this dog has like such a silky coat that it apparently hypnotizes the audience into loving him.
You are now in a trance. You will now obey Zeus.
The point is, Marmaduke proves himself in a series of challenges. The family is happy, even though he doesn't win the contest. Zeus and his handlers get busted and taken away, and the actual dog show prize ends up going to the racist Asian stereotype dog. You know what, though? something that this movie and the 2010 movie have in common, because apparently every family movie and animated movie has to end with a dance sequence. During the credits, they go back to that 2D Flash animation with this stupid Marmaduke song, and they animate the characters dancing.
It's my rags to riches, happily ever after Cinderella story. No more plot twists, darkest hours, or agonies of defeat. So, could I please have some of that bacon pizza now?
I mean, they also had the dogs dancing earlier during the dog show. It was apparently a contest to see, like, dogs' talents, and Marmaduke's was dancing. And they also bring back something from earlier that the son, Billy, rides the dog, and they do, like, this cowboy routine. Like, the dog is a horse, and, you know, the kid's dressed up like a cowboy. They established that earlier on by having it that, you know, the kid is riding the dog like a cowboy on a horse, and he's running around the house destroying things.
Oh, sorry, table. Sorry, chair. Moving or losing, cowboy.
And I'm like, no wonder this family has to try and win some money from the dog show, because they have a shitload of damage to pay for because of this fucking dog. Overall, this movie is bad. There's a reason that this was considered one of the worst movies of last year. I mean, this is up there with other shit like Norm of the North. And as someone who's been critical of Netflix over the last few years, this is fucking bad. This is terrible. The few people like J.K. Simmons and David Koechner, who's been funny in things, I felt sorry for them the whole time. And those poor voice actors, I'm like, man, I feel bad for people who get paid to be voice actors, like that is their profession. They always end up in crappy movies like this because, oh, big studios like DreamWorks, they just want to go for the big celebrity names so they could slap their names on the poster. They don't really care about voice acting as a profession. They're just like, oh, we'll just put fucking Pitbull and Beyonce and Rihanna, and, you know, so we can slap their names on the posters and people go, I know who that is. I felt bad for them. And Pete Davidson, I mean, Pete Davidson's doing the voice of a cartoon dog, man. It's like saying, how was Bill Murray in Garfield? It's like, who cares? The one thing I can say in this movie's favor is that it made me look back fondly on the 2010 movie. Like, I remember when I did a video on that, I'm like, man, this movie was forgettable as fuck, and they just tried to take one of these cliched teen coming-of-age comedies where, you know, the kid moves to a new school and he has a crush on the popular girl who's dating the jock, and then he ends up realizing that the girl who's his best friend is the one for him. You know, I thought that was all stupid, but after watching this, I'm like, man, I feel like I owe the 2010 Marmaduke movie an apology. Shit. But anyways, guys, that does it for Blockbuster videos for July. We have 3 videos coming up in August, and of course, I'm gonna try and mix it up for what's to come next month. You know, try to find a dumb action movie or a dumb superhero movie or something, you know, aside from just typical bad family movies, and hopefully not a bad animated movie. I really hope we don't do one, because after this, I feel like I need a break from bad animated movies for Blockbuster's show. Give that shit to MediaWiz and Captivating Christian. That's the stupid shit that they talk about all the time. Anyways, guys, that does it for Blockbusters this month. I am Adam Sykes from The Blockbuster Show, and we will see you guys in the next video.